Welcome back, troglodytes, to Would You Rock or Not? Today we're going to discuss purple guitars from Gibson. Now, purple is not a common color to find on a Les Paul. And why is that? Well, it's because it's not that popular of a finish. However, these guitars are what I call the perfect wife guitars. If you're married and your spouse shuts down any type of gear purchase, just tell them you want to buy one of these and watch how their mind changes that, oh, it's okay to buy that one, honey. Now that you've got the okay to make a new purchase, what are your options for a Gibson that is in purple? The first one that comes to my mind is the Les Paul Goddess series from the late 2000s. These have a beautiful teardrop purple burst shape, and they even have an ebony fretboard. But what's wrong with these is they are incredibly hard to find and very expensive when they do show up. So unless you want to wait around a long time, this might not be your best option. Another more readily available example is the Purple Peace model. Now this one is slightly purple, but it has more of a blue tint to it, so it might not fit everybody's category of purple. Speaking of not being purple, in 1990, Gibson did a limited colors edition run of guitars, and one of those colors was translucent purple. Now, depending on what example you get, it can either look like a Barney purple, like this one, or some are just straight out pink. But another way to get a purple Les Paul is through the Music Rising series of guitars. No two of these are alike, so you can find some that are more predominantly purple like this one, as well as this one, whereas others will have very little purple at all. So it really is just the luck of the draw if you could find a more predominantly purple one. And finally, the other one that kind of came to my mind is the late 90s Les Paul tie-dye series. Once again, not every single one looks like this, but this is probably the nicest looking one I've seen. A lot of people don't like this run of guitars because they think it looks like a zombie virus. And to be quite fair, I think they are right. So these are kind of a take it or leave it type thing. But let's say you don't want a current era Gibson, you want an older one. What are your options? Well, you really don't have any options for a vintage purple Gibson. The finish just did not exist. However, in the 80s, there was a Purple Burst Explorer as well as a Purple Burst V. Now, I've known about these finishes for a while, and knowing that this did exist in the mid-80s, it always made me very hopeful that someone custom ordered a Les Paul Custom in this finish. And that leads us to today's episode. There's finally an older Les Paul in Purple Burst finish. Unfortunately, this is not the Les Paul Custom I've always been hoping for. And when I first read the title, I thought this was a studio custom model, not just the plain studio. So I was a little bit sad about that. But finally, there is a purple Les Paul out there for us vintage fans. So this one just showed up on Reverb today, and I believe this is the first one I've seen. It might be the second now that I think about it. But man, I am so happy to see one of these come up for sale. Again, you usually only find this finish on Explorers and Vs, so even seeing it on a studio is very special to me. So this one, the body has that perfect teardrop shape. It's a nice plum purple color. It's not too bright. I think this guitar just has a nice grungy vibe to it almost. The gold hardware really does set this one off. And if you look right there, you see those two stickers? That means you have the beautiful Tim Shaw PAF pickups. Now again, unfortunately, this is only a Les Paul Studio. Nothing wrong with the Studio, they're just not as pretty. I would love to see one of these that has the binding all decked out on it. But here's what really sells this one. They did it right. They did the burst on the back, they did it on the neck, they did it even on the headstock. They did the finish for a custom on this thing. And that's what really sold this guitar to me to feature it on Would You Rock or Not. Now, you can see this thing has been played. It's got some wear and tear in these areas. But, it's not in too bad of shape. But here's what's interesting. You see that stamp right there above the serial number? That says Custom Shop Edition. Now, if you've been watching my other videos, you already know what that means. But that means this guitar was a part of a limited edition run of guitars of some sorts. You'll see these on like the Les Paul Spotlight Special models. This one obviously got the stamp because of its finish. So that probably means there's a few more of these floating around out there somewhere. Otherwise, we would see the Custom Shop Original stamp signifying it was a one-off of some sort. But I think what makes this guitar so exciting to me is it leaves the realm of possibility that maybe there are Purple Burst Les Paul Customs out there. If I ever find one of those, I will have to pay a lot of money for it because that will be truly a one-of-a-kind piece. The key is it has to be from the 80s. I'm not interested in the Purple Widow series or anything like that. It has to be an 80s Les Paul for me. The only question left, would you rock a Purple Burst Gibson or not? Leave your answer down in the comment section below, and regardless of how you feel about this instrument, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.